The unbelievable ride inside the high-stakes pursuit of a stolen semi-truck through Southern California's freeways. "9:30 a.m. in Fontana, California. Fontana police officers attempted to stop a Ryder truck rental truck after it was determined its license plate belonged to another vehicle, raising suspicions it was stolen. Suspects: the driver refused to comply and fled, with another man in the passenger seat. On a typical day in Fontana, California, a highway patrol officer was conducting traffic control when something unusual caught his eye. A large Peterbilt truck was driving smoothly, but its license plate appeared to be unprofessionally wired. This simple suspicion was enough for the officer to begin investigating. The chase lasted more than an hour, spanning several cities and counties, and was joined by California Highway Patrol (CHP) patrols. The passenger's behavior included repeatedly opening the truck door, as if trying to get out. This behavior strengthens the hypothesis that he may have been held against his will. Failed maneuver: a SWAT armored vehicle participated in the chase and, in a failed attempt to stop the truck, collided with it. When the officer tried to stop the truck, the driver didn't respond. Instead, he hit the gas pedal and began to drive off. The truck, which had been reported stolen 2 days earlier from Ryder Logistics, suddenly transformed from a cargo vehicle into a dangerous getaway vehicle. The chase began. A simple suspicion was enough to start a routine investigation. No one imagined it would turn into one of the most insane chases. The driver was driving this massive truck with insane recklessness. He was passing other cars at speeds up to 70 miles per hour, performing dangerous maneuvers to avoid the police. This wasn't just an ordinary chase, it was a real threat to the lives of everyone on the road. The chase is now expanding, crossing from San Bernardino County into Orange County. As the police continue to pursue the truck, an unexpected twist occurs. A family member of the passenger calls the police and says his father is being held inside the truck against his will. This changes everything. Is this another criminal on the run? Or is he an innocent hostage in the hands of a reckless driver? Now, the chase has become a rescue operation.
Throw out people. It is just so dangerous. It really, really is dangerous. It's not a light little passenger car. This can kill somebody very easily in an accident or in an incident, even a slow rate of speed. So you always are really concerned about that. It looks like we're going to get off the 91 freeway westbound before the 5, which I was talking about. So we're back on surface streets. This is going to be, I believe, off on Brookhurst. And we'll see as it makes a turn, gets on Brookhurst, and what direction they travel. This is going to be to the south, I believe, and once again, that'll put us down into the Anaheim
view to then zero in, and you, like you did, you got it right back on target. Again, Scott, Bruce Thomas is also joining us, and I'm going to talk with Bruce just for a moment. Bruce, again, now this driver is taking city streets, but I want to talk to you about the possibility.
Something more about this person or this vehicle, because typically in a pursuit you'll have maybe 3 or 4 police cars, but it looks like there were a lot more than that, undercover vehicles.
Well, it looks like the driver is coming to a stop.
Looks like they may be stopping.
Yeah, Scott.
There we go. The truck has come to a stop. We're on Commonwealth in the city of Fullerton right now, Anaheim, Fullerton. The door opened there on the driver's side. For a moment, you can see the canine is up with the dog, and I believe Fontana probably knows who this individual is. As Bruce mentioned, there were 6 Fontana patrol cars behind this, and they haven't got other jurisdictions involved, which is somewhat unusual. But right now we have a standoff. Behind the semi, you see the the Fontana police officers behind their vehicles with a canine ready to go. And right now, more than likely they're trying to establish communication, get that individual out of that semi, and hope that doesn't happen, that they continue to roll forward. But you have a much better look than I do. Trust me, this monitor isn't that good, but it looks like he may be trying to actually speak with the deputies or the officers behind him.
Yeah, and then you see him kind of slowly making their way, almost waving to him. But what I don't know if you saw, because you have a limited vantage point where you are, the driver opened the door and then threw something out of the vehicle. We don't exactly know what it was. I don't know if it was a can or if it was a bottle of water. I have no idea. I'm sure police saw it as well, and someone staying by to see. But again, we saw that driver throw something out, actually open the door and then close the door. I'm not quite sure, but obviously this person is trying to figure out what they're going to do, because if they stop one time, it seem like they tend to stop a couple times. And I can also bring Bruce Thomas in for that answer as well. Bruce, when a suspect decides that they're going to stop, it seems like they do a little bit more of this cat and mouse game.
Yeah, and that just throws law enforcement, their plan A out the window. But they do have plan B and C for a situation like this. Yeah, and when you have some smaller agencies like that, the canines are part of the regular patrol pattern, so they may have seen about the pursuit, heard it, and then jumped right into the pursuit as maybe a fourth or fifth vehicle, and therefore that resource, the canine, is available for deployment.
Right. Also, we have some video when we were saying that the driver did stop at one moment on Commonwealth Avenue and then opened the door and then threw this piece of, we don't know what it was, but then it just continues to roll, and then another vehicle is going to come up. You see the canine right there. You're going to see the other vehicle, another Fontana police officer goes right up next to whatever was thrown out. So I think they must have known, because whatever that is, it rolled for quite some time. And I feel like it might be a liquid, because I feel like there's a little trail of liquid. I'm not sure, but you saw that the Belgian Malinois, their police dog, right there ready to help assist, as it is considered another police officer as part of this pursuit. But we see, Scott, you're right there as well. You're seeing this driver now is in, where are they heading? Is this Artesia still?
Well, they're now on Firestone Boulevard. They got off the 5 freeway at Artesia. Now they're on Firestone Boulevard and actually turning on to Artesia Boulevard now and crossing underneath the 91 freeway. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly underneath the 5 freeway. It's going to be interesting to see exactly where they head from this point. They head back to where they were before. It's unusual, though, just because, I mean, the canine you could have, like Bruce said, I totally agree with that. There may be units that just came in this, but in a lot of cases, you'll have the authority let the city take over. Like, for instance, I mean, Fontana's a ways from here.
Again, Scott has touched on it a couple times. Why Fontana Police is the lead agency on this, when this keeps going onto the freeway and goes into the other areas, in Anaheim. So can you tell us a little bit more about that part of this?
Yeah, the other thing, too, which we haven't talked about, is Fontana PD has a limited amount of resources. And it seems like, I would say probably a good chunk of their resources are involved in this pursuit, which is a drain for the city not being able to handle emergent and non-emergent calls. And to Scott's point, why they haven't transitioned to CHP or the local agencies is very perplexing. We did see it looked like CHP was in the area possibly to deploy a spike strip, but as Scott said, this vehicle is very problematic with you can't do a pit maneuver. The weight of the vehicle is too much. So the only option you have is a spike strip or the suspect stopping and giving up.
Yeah, we are actually looking at seeing this tractor is on the 91 East, but they have a lot of areas that they could take pretty soon within maybe even the 5. It is interesting to see that the CHP is so far not engaged in this pursuit. Scott, you're overhead. You're seeing where they're going. Again, very light traffic for 10:50, just before 11 a.m. But again, we are following this pursuit. It's very dangerous. I don't know what vehicle is going up beside it and almost about to pass it. Is that a CHP officer?
Pulled up on him.
Is that a CHP officer?
Yeah, well, that's a CHP unit right there that pulled up very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like CHP was saying, I want to get a look inside the vehicle. I want to get up there and see what we're dealing with in case CHP takes over. I only see that one. That also, I think that's the undercover vehicle right there, which is unusual too. You see that silver vehicle? That might have been one of the vehicles I've seen this whole time, and maybe they're trying to drive by and get a look. It looks like the vehicle that was an undercover vehicle that we saw initially behind all the Fontana PD cars. I don't know for sure, but it certainly could have been them trying to drive by and get a look. And then the CHP came up very quickly. We've heard that CHP's been notified, and then we saw the CHP there. You can see him speeding up and driving by the semi. The CHP could be thinking there's very little traffic here on the 91 freeway. Headed eastbound. We're crossing over the 5. Maybe they're going to try and get up ahead and deploy the spike strip. They can do that if they can control the traffic, or if he stays on the shoulder, they can get a unit hiding behind a sign or behind a vehicle and then throw out the spike strip in front of that semi. So that's a good possibility. The reason that's possible is the suspect is driving at a much slower rate than the speed limit. So unless a vehicle comes up and passes that semi, that's why I thought that other undercover vehicle or vehicle that went by was undercover, because nobody's going to cross all these police officers and then drive by that semi. There are 5 or 6 Fontana PD units. There's a CHP unit. And so if you're going to drive that close, more than likely you're involved. But you got another CHP unit you're going to see here in just a moment coming up at an extremely high rate of speed. Open up out of your shot.
And there was another one that
flying
passed
by right there.
Yeah, there's a couple that have passed by.
Yeah, so I think they're just trying to figure out what they can. They're still headed eastbound. They're going to come back up on Brookhurst here in a moment, I believe, and the suspect had gotten off on Brookhurst a moment ago. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on this and see what happens. But the speeds haven't been erratic, and that's good news as far as safety is concerned. But as far as the strategy, it's going to be interesting exactly what they try to do here, whether CHP takes over or Fontana just continues to follow.
Right, and just their strategy of trying to figure out how do you pull this vehicle over. Again, we do have Bruce Thomas on the line as well. Bruce, we are seeing the CHP possibly getting engaged in this. At least we see more activity with the CHP, but now it looks like this driver is going to be taking the Brookhurst Road exit from the 91 East. I don't know how they end up the jockeying between the agencies, Bruce. What do you think the CHP, their watch commanders, obviously watching this? You see the passenger side door. Every time this tractor sort of starts to stop, that door opens. But when that driver actually pulled over, probably about 10 to 15 minutes ago, that passenger did not get out of the vehicle. So I'm not quite sure why their behavior is what it is right now. But again, Bruce, you can see we have
resources.
Yeah, well, we're seeing the driver taking a right here from Brookhurst onto La Palma Avenue. Again, this is in the West Anaheim area. You can see from SkyMap 7, which is such an incredible resource we have on board Air 7. Bruce, again, now they're look like they're popping back onto the freeway as SkyMap 7 sort of, it looks like the 5 they're going to be getting on. And of course, this is a very heavily traveled artery in our area.
Yeah, CHP, if they're going to deploy a spike strip, is going to have to control the traffic. And that's going to take at least maybe 3 or 4 units. Are they in position? It seems like they were in the beginning of this, earlier, before he got off the freeway. So I think CHP is going to get back involved again.
Yeah, it's changing freeways. But again, Scott, you're right there. It looked like they were on the 5, but they might be taking that 91 again.
No, they're on the 5 northbound. There was on the 91 East, got off at Brookhurst, and got off just in time because the 2 or 3 CHP vehicles that sped by this vehicle on the 91, a quarter mile up ahead, they had the units on the shoulder, and they were getting ready to throw out the spike strip. It's much easier to control traffic behind a pursuit like this when the suspect's driving way below the speed limit, because nobody really, for the most part, are they going to allow to come up behind them. And then you have a lot of room in front of you, right? Because all the traffic traveling faster than the suspect is pulling away, and they try and stop all the other vehicles from moving up and passing this one. We're on the 5 northbound, and you know, we went through this area, I would say, about 30 minutes ago, the same area, and traffic was stopped, but it's thinned out. It's just that time of the morning where all of a sudden now, later in the morning, the 5 freeway doesn't look too bad. We're on the 5 northbound, crossing the 91. Pull out of the shot just a little bit, if you would, Josh. You'll see the helicopter down below. on the bottom of your screen there. Keep an eye. But you also have these 5 or 6, actually count them 7, Fontana PD units still on this, and they are relentless. There's not much they can do but follow along at this point in time. They're trying to stop all traffic behind the suspect from continuing past them. Every now and then I'll see a vehicle, though, and I'm just astonished that they really think they're going to go in between these PD cars and get in front of them. But right now we're on the northbound 5. We're still in Fullerton. We're headed up into Buena Park. And it wouldn't surprise me if the suspect gets off the freeway once again at this spot and then makes himself back to the area that he was earlier. And sure, that's the off-ramp there. I think we got off on this off-ramp earlier. It might be Artesia, if I'm not mistaken. We were on La Palma for a moment, then back on Burkhurst. So we are seeing a pattern, and when you see patterns, it is easier to set up spike strips, because when patterns happen, you can think, well, if he heads back to the same spot, we'll get a unit to hide with a spike strip and maybe throw it out. So that will help. But besides that, I don't see that there's much in the way of strategy to stop this until the suspect gives up or runs out of fuel.
Yeah, you were just saying something. I was listening to our producer as we get ready for the 11 a.m. newscast. Again, you are watching a special edition of Eyewitness News at 11. But you were talking about the fuel. How I mean, they are long haul. These vehicles are meant for long haul rides, and they could have been completely full, and we don't know exactly what is going on. I feel for the CHP, who on the 5 and on the 91 trying to figure out, is this driver going to go back onto the freeway? And if they're trying to get ahead of it, it's very complicated.
45. Yeah, and we're back in the same spot. If you've been with us for a while, then you've seen the semi turn onto Commonwealth before. And it's not far from here, that spot where the semi drove by a surface street. I forget the name of that street, but it was in a residential area almost. And we had half a dozen people come out and try and get their attention and wave at them. So it's hard to believe that they were just out because of social media and knew he was heading in that direction. So we could see there's some people out on the street there. This could be the same spot we were at before. Right. Boy, they want to get out, or they want to grab something from that vehicle or put something on top.
They grabbed something from the very top, I believe.
Oh my goodness, we never see this. That was a SWAT vehicle that just slammed into the semi on the side, came out of nowhere. We didn't even see that vehicle. We hadn't known it was here, and they came in and just slammed into the side of that semi with their armored vehicle. So now you have 2 vehicles, and they're both really heavy. I'm not sure, I've never seen it, but maybe they can do a pit maneuver with that armored vehicle. If the semi tries to make a turn at a slow enough rate of speed and they can get behind it and hit the rear, they can get it to spin out. There's no way with the center of gravity on a semi like this, a tractor portion, that it's going to overturn as long as it doesn't have too high a rate of speed. But if he comes up behind it right now and he makes a turn and he can tap him right in the rear of the vehicle, it could possibly get him to spin out. But one of the reasons I don't think he did that, there was a vehicle in that intersection, and with 2 heavy vehicles, that's extremely dangerous. But wow, we saw that came out of nowhere. I did not see that coming when the armored vehicle slammed into that semi. That
was unbelievable. That came really, it was a shock. And again, I've never seen an armored vehicle attempt to do a pit maneuver, or at least get so involved with one of these chases. But now you have that armored vehicle following this tractor.
Fontana?
But again, it's very, very interesting. Again, I want to welcome our viewers. You are watching Eyewitness News at 11 a.m. I'm Colleen Sullivan. Philip Palmer is also with us. You obviously know Scott Reif is with us, as well as Bruce Thomas.
Open up a little bit.
We're following this pursuit. We've been following for a good part of the last 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes, where we know that this is a stolen tractor. We know that there is a passenger inside there. We have been confirmed from the CHP that there is a passenger who's being held against their will. Now you're seeing
they know who
this.
This guy is.
Exactly, Scott. You know, Philip, if you want to join us.
Well, I was going to say we learned a lot in the last couple of minutes. One of which is I don't know that that person is being held against their will, given the fact that they reached out, grabbed something, got back into the car. So that might have changed things, and we've seen that they are ready to stop this chase. As Scott zoomed in a moment ago, you can see the damage done to one of the fuel tanks on the back from where the SWAT vehicle hit it. On the other side, Scott, we could see that it basically crushed that tank.
Yeah, but we didn't see anything come out of it, so we
No,
didn't
if it's
see it lose a
empty,
lot of fuel.
Yeah, if it was already empty,
Yeah.
who knows?
We're back in the same spot, though, Philip, and, you know, we're following along just watching the semi like this. It started to slow, and then out of nowhere, it wasn't behind him, out of nowhere came that armored vehicle and slammed. Continue up onto the sidewalk. It's really difficult to stop this, but now we know the strategy, a pit maneuver or even ramming that tractor.
Well, that's the thing. Clearly, at a high rate of speed, this vehicle would cause a lot of damage, but even at very, very low speeds, it can just plow through things. I'd like to show that video one more time that we
Finally, after hours of tension, the chase ended. Police succeeded in surrounding the truck at the intersection of Franklin and Beach Streets, forcing it to stop. Bill Fayed exited the truck, raising his hands, and surrendered to police. He was followed by the passenger, Carlos Mesta, who was also arrested. Eyewitness testimony. The information included testimony from Buena Park resident Julian Velasquez, who described the scene as rare and similar to what he had seen on the news, as police took the two suspects out at gunpoint. The two men were taken into custody. It was later revealed that both had prior arrest warrants for grand theft of a motor vehicle. Another warrant was issued for the driver, who was armed and dangerous.
On the other side is out right now, and then now they're trying to get to the driver.
Yeah, and this is a critical moment right now when the driver gets out. They don't know what they're dealing with, but if this driver makes a sudden move, they have guns drawn on this individual, and right now it looks like he is cooperating with their commands. He's probably going to back up, maybe open his shirt up or pull it up to make sure there's nothing in his waistband, but more than likely he'll be down on the ground here in a moment. And at this point in time, we don't know what they think about the passenger, if that's a suspect or if that is someone, as we mentioned, may have been held against their will. That will depend on how they treat that individual, but they have to get that person in custody. They have. And now you can see they're moving on to the passenger. And the passenger does not appear to be an individual that was held against their power or kidnapped and wants to give themselves up. It looks like they're actually not obeying the commands of officers right now. They have their guns drawn on that individual. This is a scary moment. Be careful here, Josh. If they have to open fire, which they look pretty intense right now, and it doesn't look like the passenger is just willingly giving themselves up.
Yeah, but we did see that passenger open the door right away once that tractor was surrounded and pinned. That door opened, those two hands came up, so they have been right there. So we're not quite sure because we obviously don't have ears on the ground to see if that person is not doing the commands. But again, we're obviously, they are very careful, and you can see what a powerful show of force because you see so many of the undercover cars that were involved because At first, Philip, we just thought maybe there was one or two, but to see so many swarm right into this location, really unbelievable.
Well, at that spot where they aggressively slammed into the side, it almost looked as if there was an undercover SUV in that parking lot because they actually ran into that. But this is an interesting thing because he's got something in his hand, and he's not letting that go. So they can actually, it seems to me, have cleared the cab of a third person. It seems as if that is also something they needed to make sure they did. So now you've got this one person, and they're not going to get on the other side because you don't want to put officers in the line of fire. So now here he comes, and he's putting whatever that is on the ground. That might be what he picked up off of the roof of that vehicle.
I'm not quite sure, but we'll obviously keep looking at that video. But you can see now this person is certainly obeying the commands. When you have that many guns drawn at you, I think you're going to do exactly what you're told and not put up a fight. But we saw them, these suspects get very close to law enforcement. And then, you know, in a second, we're going to see them push right in and put them right on the ground there.
Well, what was also very interesting to me, when you try to put yourself in the mind of these two people, when that SWAT vehicle pulled around in front and that officer had rifle trained right through that front windshield in the direction at them, that pretty much changed everything. Because if you notice that SWAT right out of the top hatch, there was an officer right there, and he had his weapon pointed straight through the front windshield. So that's going to change your demeanor very quickly. And it looked like that's what ended this.
Very dramatic.
Without further incident.
Absolutely. You know.